society-stunting failures. Living above the law and above accountability, these judges have allowed every recidivist murderer, every recidivist rapist, every recidivist assault, every recidivist pedophile, every mind-bending assault on your morality, illegally for 203 years before having the audacity to wipe their asses with your 14th Amendment rights in 1979 by allowing the passage of 42 U.S. Code 1983, civil action for the deprivation of rights, assuring their immunity from lawful wrath of you, the people, for now 35 years. And it's time to change that. Let's sharpen our blade as we examine this. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Section 1, Amendment 14, United States Constitution. Every person who, under the color of any statute, ordinance, regulation, custom, or usage of any state or territory, or the District of Columbia, subjects or causes to be subjected any citizen of the United States or other person within jurisdiction thereof to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, or immunities secured by the Constitution and laws, shall be liable to the party injured in an action at law, suit in equity, or other proper proceeding for redress, except that in any action brought against any judicial officer for an act or omission taken in such officer's judicial capacity, injunctive relief shall not be granted unless a declaratory decree was violated or a declaratory relief was unavailable. For the purposes of this section, any act of Congress applicable exclusively to the District of Columbia shall be considered to be a statute of the District of Columbia. 42 U.S. Code 1983. All laws which are repugnant to the Constitution are null and void. Marbury v. Madison. Every law consistent with the Constitution will have been made in pursuance of the powers granted by it. Every usurpation or law repugnant to it cannot have been made in pursuance of its powers. The latter will be nugatory and void. Thomas Jefferson. The laws of Congress are restricted to a certain sphere, and when they depart from this sphere, they are no longer supreme or binding, in the same manner that the states have certain independent power in which their laws are supreme. Alexander Hamilton. Clearly, a federal law which is contrary to the Constitution is no law at all. It is null, void, invalid, and the Supreme Court decision, which is not law, has no supremacy even if it is faithfully interpreting the Constitution. So, it is the height of absurdity to claim the Supreme Court decision that manifestly violates the Constitution as the supreme law of the land. William Jasper. Shall we be such fools as to be governed by its laws which are unconstitutional? No. The Constitution acknowledges that people have power, not reserved to itself. I am a lawyer, I am a big lawyer, and comprehend heaven and earth and hell to bring forth knowledge that shall cover up all lawyers, doctors, and other big bodies. Joseph Smith. And then do you profess to ignore the laws of the land? No, not unless they are unconstitutional. Then I would do it all the time. When the Congress of the United States, for instance, pass a law interfering with my religion or with my religious right, I shall read a small portion of the instrument called the Constitution of the United States, now almost obsolete, which says, Congress shall pass no law interfering with religion or with the free restriction thereof. John Taylor. United States Constitution, Article 3, the Judiciary. Section 1. The judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court and such inferior courts as the Congress may from time to time ordain and establish. The judges, both of the Supreme and inferior courts, shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall, at stated times, receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. Section 2. Judicial power shall extend to all cases in law and equity, arising under this Constitution, the laws of the United States and treaties made or which shall be made under their authority, to all cases affecting ambassadors, other public, ministers, and councils, to all cases of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, to controversies to which the United States shall be party, to controversies between two or more states, between a state and citizen of another state, between citizens from different states, between citizens of the same state claiming lands under grants of different states, and between a state and a citizen thereof, and foreign states, citizens or subjects. In all cases affecting ambassadors and other public ministers and council, and those in which the state shall be party, the Supreme Court shall have original jurisdiction. And in other cases before mentioned, the Supreme Court shall have appellate jurisdiction, both as to law and fact, with such exceptions, and under such regulations as Congress shall make. The trial of crimes, except in the cases of impeachment, shall be by jury, and such trial shall be held in the state whereas the crimes shall have been committed, but not when committed within the state. The trial shall be at such place or places as the Congress may by law have directed. Section 3. Treason against the United States shall consist of only levying war against or adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless testimony of 2 witnesses, the same overt act, or in confession known in open court. Congress shall have the power to declare the punishment of treason, but to no attainder of treason shall work corruption of blood or forfeiture except during the life of the person attainted. There is your judicial authority as described by the Constitution. Did anyone hear me mention immunity in that description of Article 3, Sections 1, 2, and 3? When we read the 14th Amendment, we see that we're all bound to be held equal under the law, and yet we see somewhere in 1979 that the courts, once and for all, gave themselves legal authority to violate your constitutional rights. A segment of the population who derives their authority from the public has given themselves a power to exceed your rights. They're immune from pretty much everything. According to the Supreme Court of the United States of America, they can do whatever they want. Why can they do whatever they want? Well, it's been decided that for maximum ability to deal fearlessly and impartially with the public, the burden of being subject to the court of law, a trial, would dampen a judge's enthusiasm or passion to make a decision. Well, that's strange, because the weight of a court of law rests on every police officer's shoulders. He makes life or death decisions within seconds. The weight of being subject to the court of law is on every doctor's shoulders. He makes life or death decisions, sometimes within fractions of a second. The weight of liability in court is on everyone who drives a car, because maybe you took a medicine that day to clear your sinuses. Maybe it made you a little loopy. Maybe you didn't have enough sleep. Maybe accidents just occur, and this accident that you may have been in, well, maybe you shouldn't be held responsible for it, but you are. There is a single class of people in the United States who are above all of us, and that is the black-robed judges and their little minions, all the lawyers who vie to put on black robes themselves, who want to live above you and me. They want to live above the Constitution. Now, they've been doing this for quite some time, and they've been citing nonsense for quite some time. What one court does is it just cites another court's decision, the judiciary, for almost 203 years, without relying on a specific statutory grant of immunity, granted themselves immunity. And then, in 1979, and again in 1991, they reaffirmed this power grab, this unconstitutional, this immoral and unethical power grab. But it's a judge. A judge studies hard. So what? A doctor studied hard. A firefighter studies hard. A police officer studies hard. And you know what? The police officer, the person who makes the most spontaneous decisions instantly, has never been granted immunity. But a judge is. We're going to pretend that a judge is without their own ideological bias. We know that's nonsense. We know it's nonsense because we see recidivist criminals. These recidivist criminals have been given a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth and who knows how many chances by judges who disregard facts, disregard prior histories, disregard elements that are unchanged. And what they do is they take people who are dangerous and they put them back out on the streets. These same judges decide that people who are incapable of doing jobs should do that job, jeopardizing the people who that job is required to protect. But the judges without accountability. Judges without accountability have destroyed schools and education by forcing busing from one region to another. Unconstitutional, illegal, and immoral. Judges are responsible for the death of 46 million American children legally aborted since 1970 without accountability. A judge could dismiss a jury because it's not black enough. A judge could ask for someone to be roughed up because they weren't in court on time. A judge could pretty much do anything. A judge could take his robe off and bite a woman on the nose and not be held responsible or accountable for their actions because they have created a magic law for themselves that exceeds your law. We all know that all lawyers are going batshit right now because I've just raised something that is an obvious fraud committed upon the American people, committed by the judicial branch of America. They're not special. A judge has days, has weeks, has months, has years to make a decision, a moral decision. The problem is when they make an ideological-based decision. So when the facts of prior cases show you that someone is a recidivist rapist, house burglar, thief, mafiosa, Klan member, Black Panther, murderer, killer, dope dealer, whatever, they've been doing this since they were teenagers, preteens, but you're giving them opportunities to turn a straight arrow because they told you they're going to this time. Sure enough, when does it happen? It happens after they do their time. It happens after they received just punishment. Doesn't happen before that. Doesn't happen for no reason. It's not going to happen. But you have judges whose ideology gets in the way of unbiased jurisprudence, and these people now operate flaunting their power, dangling their goods under their little black robes in America's face because they can't be held accountable. That's not how the law works in America. But it's now, we read 42 U.S. Code 1983. Yeah, we read it. But we also read the 14th Amendment. We also can cite Marbury v. Madison, the lawyer's favorite dodge. Any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. Any law that is repugnant to the Constitution is null and void. Where in the Constitution did you see the Founding Fathers grant the judiciary immunity from their decisions? They did not. Plain and simple. How could that be? Well, because they didn't. It says right there, they must be in good behavior. Why good behavior? Well, if they're not in good behavior, that means they can be removed. It's very simple. Just like that Second Amendment everyone gets confused on. It's spelled right out for you. They must remain in good behavior. All judicial decisions, a judge has proper jurisdiction, even if it is made with corrupt or malicious intent. This nonsense comes from the English common law, where the king can do no wrong, and we, peasants, ought not to be drawn into question. The king, or his little agent, the judge, as to slander the justice of the king, or his agents. So this is who these black-robed bozos think they are now. They think they're kings. They're behaving like kings. They have granted themselves power that no other branch of the government has been granted. That no other municipal job is granted